Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic. What is something that was acceptable 100 years ago which is unacceptable today? Remember, we are talking about 1922 here, not 1850. Had to think for a minute. When I hear 100 years ago my brain still thinks 1890s. 2000 was 4 years ago, damn it. Putting lead in everything. Putting radium in everything. They actually drank radium water in the 2020s and used radioactive paint for watches. https://wikipedia.org/wiki/radium_girls. Heck, in the 1950s, one kid's science kits came with straight up uranium. Plastic is the new lead. Now that we are starting to see plastics show up in blood and lungs, 100 years from now we may have the same feelings towards plastics as we do lead today. I keep wondering what the hell we can replace all the plastic with. Looking around the room I'm in, plastic monitors, plastic cup, plastic remote control, plastic mouse, plastic in my clothes, plastic in my shoes, plastic in my phone, plastic motorcycle helmet. Smoking and drinking while pregnant. My mom did it and I was born in 97. Narrator, he was actually born in 79 but his brain is damaged. Doing heroin to cure a cough or a cut. But officer, I have a paper cut, it's medicinal. Sir, that is crack. Slapping kids at school. I can proudly say I was the last kid that was legally beaten with a paddle at my elementary. Our principal had a wooden paddle hanging in his office and he could only whoop kids that their parents signed a consent form at the beginning of the year. They finally banned it when I was in 5th grade and I was the last. Because I asked to go to the bathroom too much. Later diagnosed with IBS but yay just smack him till he doesn't need to use the bathroom lol. Paddle was obviously to slap the poo back in. Not graduating high school. Edit, thanks for all the upvotes and the unexpected and wholesome comments about your grandparents and great-grandparents. I really enjoyed reading them after a long day at work. Equals. Definitely was much more normal for good people to drop out of high school 100 years ago, to help out on the farm or such. Not dropping out. US high school attendance in the 1920s was like 30%. You were in school until you turned 12, then you got a job. Unless you were one of the betters. Putting Belladonna in your eyes, to get a doe eye effect. Radioactive wallpaper. Belladonna. Atropine is still used by ophthalmologists to dilate pupils. But your point stands, it's no longer used for cosmetic reasons. And it's fucking maddening. Let me try and read, fuck. My wife is working with a book of arsenic wallpaper. Beautiful green and yellow patterns, but really fucking deadly. Working with. What's she doing? Beating your wife and kids. He wouldn't have beat you if you just listened to him. The beatings will continue until morale improves. Pushing small children up a chimney or down mines. Those definitely were not growth industries. It could have been if those damn kids didn't keep dying. Thinking the Milky Way was the entirety of the universe. Hubble didn't verify the existence of other galaxies outside the Milky Way until 1924, Andromeda being the first. For a second there, I forgot Hubble was a dude. Wait. The Hubble hasn't been up that long. Haha, yeah, got me too. I was like, we didn't have rockets back then, what the hell? Naming your kid Adolf. My neighbor's name is Adolf. Born in Switzerland in 1943. I guess someone panicked. Lol. That is seriously unfortunate. Putting cocaine in soft drinks. A couple of lads disagree. Would those lads happen to be mad? That's not within the last century. There was less than 1/40 th of a grain per ounce of syrup by 1902. The only thing left was trace amounts from the coca leaves used in the manufacture, which wasn't enough to give anyone even a mild buzz. And all trace amounts were completely removed by 1929, when the acid-base extraction process was improved enough to remove even residual ECGOE. Asbestos. It was deemed a miracle fiber in its day. The stuff was used everywhere. They even had asbestos cigarettes. Cancer, too. Wait, seriously. This is the first I've ever heard of it. Holy shit. Traveling by horse on the highway. Taking your gun to school. That was actually 50 years ago. My father talks about taking his rifle to school, putting it in his locker, and taking it out after school for gun club where they shot targets out behind the football field with a teacher. Graduated 47 years ago. I kept my gun in my gun rack in the back window of my 65 Chevy pickup. Teachers constantly borrowed my pocket knife. Students had a smoking area at school. Students still have a smoking area at school, it's called the bathrooms. I graduated in 1987 and there were a lot of guns in vehicles in the school parking lot. During deer season a lot of people would go sit in their stands before school. Istitutio Lizartio of women, usually by her parents or husband, for pretty much any reason they thought up because she was difficult and labeling her hysterical. JFK had a sister that this was done to. They lobotomized her poor kid, perhaps had some degree of learning disabilities, she was good looking and enjoyed the affections of men and seemed likely to scandalize the family name. Don't fuck with the multi-generational Kennedy dream of running the free world or they will scoop half your brain out. Edit. Getting a lot of upvotes. Just want to be clear that this is in no way an anti-Democratic Party statement, is definitely not pro-Republican. I don't even live in America. If anything, it speaks to the dangers of massive amounts of political and financial clout and a pathological entitlement having undue influence on who is pulling the strings on the most powerful country in the world. Soon this will be the best part of a century ago. Back then there was some degree of post-war consensus in America politics domestically and, regrettably, internationally. It's kinda weird that this 1960s guy is in charge of it all now. But from what I've seen of the current state of the Republican Party, fuck that. It's not healthy for a country to have two parties so opposed and for so much of one party to be made up of batshit crazy grifters who stir up hate and will line up behind Trump no matter how much evidence about what a dirty fucking idiotic beauty-loving scumbag he is. Yep. This practice went on well into the 60s where I'm from. When Indianapolis closed down its state-run psychiatric facility here in the mid-80s, they just kicked the patients out literally outside the doors of the building. Many wandering into the yards of nearby homes and businesses. The patients who were genuinely mentally ill, tragically, ended up in the penal system. There were many perfectly sane elderly women who'd been there their entire lives and went into nursing homes because they had no idea how to take care of themselves. My grandmother died in an institution for this very reason. My grandfather convinced a doctor that she was hysterical. I imagine she was after he beat her and raped his and her daughter. Racial segregation of 100 types, including property covenants that prohibited the sale of a home to a non-white family. I live in a house where that was in the original deed restriction. The previous owner was a professor who kept all the old documents for historical purposes. My husband is a dark-skinned Latino, and I'm a woman, so neither of us would have been allowed to buy this house when it was built. Women weren't given credit in those days. It's one of those things that you know intellectually, but when you hold the documents in your hands, with your address on them, it's different. Our house's deed is like that too. We are both Hispanic. It was a little bit of a shock to read that only white people were allowed to live there. Stopping by a friend / family member / neighbor's house unannounced without asking ahead of time if they feel like having company. Please tell my dad this information. One day my mom stopped by, for the 4th time that week, and my husband and I were arguing and I was in the worst mood. I was snippy and rude. I got the courage up the next day to apologize and asked her to please call or text before coming by, because it's not always a good time and I'd like the opportunity to tell her that instead of being shitty to her. It worked without hurting her feelings. Lasted about 6 months lol. Sending 7 yo kids to the store by themselves or let them roam freely after dark. I spent some time abroad and was always shocked to see 4-year-old kids pushing their 2-year-old siblings around the grocery store all by themselves. Depends where you are, I guess. Where was this? There's a show on Netflix right now called Old Enough. It's based in Japan and it's very young kids getting sent to do errands alone and being filmed doing it. The first one was a boy 2 years 9 months old walking a kilometers to pick up food at a supermarket. Including crossing a busy road. NGL, I was shitting bricks the whole time. It has a warning on it for dangerous behavior. Smoking literally everywhere. Motherfuckers probably tried smoking whilst swimming. There was a snorkel with a cigarette holder built in so you could smoke while swimming. If I find it I will share a link. Edit, it's somewhere in this Samuela video. https://youtube.com. Lynching. It was popular enough that you could get lynching postcards, complete with a graphic photo of the murder, going into the 1920s. This is despite the U.S. Postal Service banning them in 1908. This is despite the U.S. Postal Service banning them in 1908. I thought you meant the post office banned lynching in 1908. Not officially, but I believe they were against it.